Thanks.
I'd actually prepared like a lot that I wanted to touch on. But as I'm seated there, I'm realizing that we actually don't need this. We actually just want to have a conversation and to better understand the people that we've invited to be with us today. I gotta say first that it is an honor to be seated here and to have you, Tata Satish. In my language, I can't refer to an elder by their name. I have to show some respect, and that's what I'm trying to do. It is an honor to have you here with us and to tap into the wisdom that you carry, the experiences that you have, reading your profile online. My notes are like 2 pages. I'm like, where am I going to start with introducing who the speaker is today? But I got to say, thank you very much. And maybe as an icebreaker, maybe a hand of applause to you and the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
I'll give you a chance maybe for both of you to tell us who you are. And I think the achievements and all the things that you've done, I don't want to read what's online, but when I give an opportunity for you to just tell us who you are. And after, we'll start with Philippi and then we come to you. Okay. But I think the structure of the conversation that we're going to have today is maybe starting from, your personal journeys, who you are. As a person, your background, to try and understand the political work that we've done. I believe that the personal is the genesis of the political, and there should be, a point that brings those, a nexus point that brings those together. But most of the time, activists define themselves by their work, and we all have done that here today. Bushra is a mother. She didn't mention that. I am a parent. We didn't mention that. But there's a lot that we carry beyond just the work that we do. And I think it's important that in such conversations, we start from the personal to understand the political and have those conversations like that. Philippi, we'll start with you. Maybe you can just introduce yourself briefly, and then we will come to you, Tata Satish. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. So my name is Philippi Village, and I'm a friends with Satish and a student of Satish. And I come originally from Chile. I'm an activist, sound artist. I'm really interested in chatting to you guys afterwards because I work in that sort of area as well. But I often introduce myself as a travel maker because I'm an organizer. I'm a Bertha Fellow, and I came to Philippi before COVID, and I met Bushra here, and I'm just really happy to be here with you. Really, I feel quite emotional, and I feel like just really happy to be sitting with you guys here, and I think Satish got a lot to share. I got some stories, but I think Satish got some
stories.
No, but I live right now in England, and I learned. I quit university when I was 20, and maybe like you, I came from a community background, and I didn't really have any money, but I just sort of traveled with no money, and sometimes people say I'm a little bit like a Satish sort of version, because Satish walked from India to London, and then he worked in the US. So Satish worked for like 2.5 years with no money, right? And he can tell us more a little bit about his story. But in my case, like you guys, I guess I was very frustrated. I was very angry. I was very, I don't know. I grew up in dictatorship, and there was so much racism and so many things that were really painful, right? Inequality and everything. And and I start sort of organizing and coming together with people, and here we are 26 years later, and it's just like a real honor to be here with you.
Good, thank you. Okay, it is my great pleasure to visit Philippi community. I grew up in India, and I grew up in a very small village, and my mother was a farmer, and so I cultivated love of land, love of soil, love of gardening, love of food from a very childhood. My mother always walked to our field. We had about 4 or 5 acres of field, and it was a little bit away from the house, and so we always walked. And during the walks, she will tell me a lot about nature. So being connected with nature, being connected with trees and animals and birds and butterflies and bees, that was my education. I think in our modern times, our education has become too much book-oriented. We learn from books or learn from maybe computers. But I grew up when there was no electricity, no telephone, no computer, no cameras, nothing. Just nature was everything. And that was everything, because we had lots of fruit and flowers and herbs and vegetables and birds and clouds and sun and rain, and what a rich nature is. And so I grew up with that. Then also I became a Jain monk, a monastic order, because I wanted to follow a spiritual path. So for 9 years, Philippi said I walked around the world for 2.5 years without any money. But before that, for 9 years, as a monk, I walked from village to village with a begging bowl and no money. So living without any money was kind of part of my training, upbringing. And then I changed again, and I left the monastic order, and I joined a movement of land gift. And that was a tremendous movement. We went to the landlords, and it was a big movement, not just me. I was a great leader called Vinoba. And we went to the landlords and asked the landlords to share their land with the poor. And they did. Landlords gave land to us to give to the poor. It's called land gift movement. And we collected 4 million acres of land. Can you imagine? 4 million acres of land. Not $4 million or euros or dollars or something, rupees, but land, which is very special. And we distributed that among the poor. And we say, you are not owning the land, you can cultivate the land. As long as you cultivate the land, you can keep it. And if your children want to cultivate the land, you can keep it. They can keep it. And when you don't want to cultivate the land, then you go back to the community, and community will give to somebody else who wants to cultivate the land. And so this way, we created a very big land gift movement. So that was a great experience for me. And then I had another inspiration, and that's what Philippi mentioned, that I became very interested in peace. And when I was growing as a young man, I was 25, 26 years old, the nuclear weapons were threatening the world. There was a height of Cold War, and between the Soviet Union and the United States of America, tremendous arms race. Who has strong weapons? Who has more weapons? Who has more nuclear weapons? So I got very inspired to act, become an activist, peace activist, and protest and oppose the nuclear weapons. And so for that purpose, I decided to walk from India through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Russia, to Moscow. And then to Poland, Germany, Belgium, France, Paris. Then, of course, I took a boat, and French people helped me from Calais to Dover, and then to London, then to Southampton, then by boat to New York, then to Washington. And I had a great privilege of meeting Martin Luther King. That was a great privilege. I had that was a kind of like a peak, the height of culmination of my walk, to make a pilgrimage to Atlanta, Georgia, to the house of Martin Luther King. And he was a great inspiration to me. He was an embodiment of peace. He was an embodiment of love. He was an activist, like many of you are activists. He went to jail for 29 times. And yet, he had no hatred in his heart. Completely full of love. He was radical. He was activist, protesting against racism, racial discrimination, but without anger. That's a true and beautiful and inspiring example of being an activist. And then I went to Japan and walked from Tokyo to Hiroshima. And then I went by boat to India. So that was a 2.5 years of journey through 15 countries, Muslim countries, Christian countries, communist countries, capitalist countries, mountains, deserts, snow, everything. It was a great experience. And then I settled in England, and I became editor of a magazine called Resurgence. And also I started a college called Schumacher College, where Philippi came to study. And Seth and Renata, they came to study. And Schumacher College is a place where we have education of head, education of heart, and education of hands. We say all our students need to learn to make something, like gardening, cooking, building, craftsmanship, art. If you don't make, you just study with your head, that's not enough education. So education of head, education of heart, and heart is where the compassion, the kindness, the relationship, the friendship, the imagination, all those come from. And hands, by making things. We have 2 hands, we can make miracles. Your garden is looking so beautiful. Congratulations for creating that garden, all of you who have created. Congratulations, yeah. I was very impressed to see your Swiss chard and spinach and sweet corn and everything so lovely, so impressive. Keep going. It's a good example. I'm very inspired. And so, these two hands can make miracles. These two hands can build a house. These two hands can grow food. Yes, we become obsessed with money, but these two hands can make money, which money cannot make. And therefore, we need to value our hands. So at Schumacher College, we always say, use your hands. However great intellectual you may be, however great academic you may be, however great scientist you may be, however great economist you may be, however great doctor you may be, however great lawyer you may be. But if you can't use your hands, no good. No good. Just being a lawyer, doctor, accountant, scientist, economist is all fine. There's nothing against that. But you should be able to use your hands. So that's what we give at Schumacher College. And because of head, heart, and hands, I also created another trinity. And I call it soil, soul, and society. So your Philippi community here, you can embrace this trinity of soil, soul, and society. So soil is, you have 8 hectares. Hectares or acres? Hectares. It's a beautiful, it's like wealth. It's a real wealth, land. So, soil, build soil, make soil, and save soil. You know the word human in Latin and English, human? You know the etymological root of the word is humus. And humus means soil. So human beings are literally soil beings. We are soil beings. Our body is soil transformed. And all the food, the lovely spinach and Swiss chard and sweet corn and potatoes you have in your garden, what are they? Soil transformed into potatoes, into tomatoes, into sweet corn, into spinach. All food is soil transformed. The wood, soil transformed. The carpet, soil transformed. So build soil. Transform this 8 hectares of land into a beautiful Garden of Eden. And you can do it with your hands. You only need your 2 hands. Make every little piece of scrap of vegetables or kitchen waste into soil. Learn to make compost and build a compost heap. And ask all Philippi community people, say, anything you have in your kitchen waste, don't throw it away. Give it to community and the garden. So soil is the first. And then the soul power, our resilience, our courage, our imagination, our creativity, our real power is soul power. Mahatma Gandhi used the word soul power. Your great leader, Nelson Mandela, had a soul power, that resilience, that strength, that courage, that comes from soul. So, as you cultivate soil, we all need to cultivate soul power. And the soul is compassion, kindness, generosity, respect, love. All these values come from a soul quality. Like our body is made of earth, air, fire, water, blood, bones, skin. Our soul is made of imagination, art, poetry, music. They come from the soul, comes from the imagination. And our children need to learn soul qualities. Our children are educated just to do mathematics and science and all these things, but they don't learn to cultivate the soul and imagination. So everybody can be an artist. You are an artist. But artist is not a special kind of person. But every person is a special kind of artist. We all need to live our lives like an artist. An activist at the same time, of course. But we can all be an artist. The artist is not only painting or photography or filmmaking or dancing or singing. These are wonderful art, of course they are. But art of living, art of cooking. You are an artist. You are an artist. Art of gardening. You are creating a work of art. A garden is a work of art. Good food is a work of art. If you don't know how to cook good food, there's something missing in art. So you can be an artist. Everybody can be an artist. Artist is not somebody on the pedestal. Art is not in the museum. Art is not in the art galleries. Art is not in the concert hall. So art is in the life. Everything we make should be beautiful. Beauty is a part of the art. If we create beauty in our lives, we'll feel happy. Beauty is the food for the soul. Beauty makes you happy. So create beauty, you will be an artist. So that's a soul. And the society is we all human community. We are educated to think like an individual, separate. I. But that's not South African idea. Your South African idea, I had a great privilege of also meeting Desmond Tutu. I was very lucky to meet him. And he told me an African word, Ubuntu. That's a society. We are, therefore I am. We are social creatures working together. 1 + 1 equals not 2. How many? 1 + 1 equals 11. Right? 11. That's a society. We work together. If you create a garden and a society there, 2 hands, 4 hands, 6 hands, 8 hands, 10 hands together. So society means respecting everybody and not quarreling, not fighting, not condemning anybody. Everybody has a special quality. Every human being comes from their own special dignity. And we need to learn to respect every single human being as a member of our human community, human society, and a Philippi community. So that's a society. At the moment, we are either very individualistic or we are divided, separated, divided. Divided between blacks and whites, divided between rich and poor, divided between Christians and Muslims, divided between Americans and Chinese or Russians or Ukrainians. We are division. Separation. That's not society. That's not human community. We are one humanity. And it's wonderful to have many religions, many races, many cultures, many languages, many nationalities, many forms. Diversity should be wonderful. We should celebrate diversity. It's good to have blacks and whites and browns and Muslims and Christians and Jews and Hindus and Chinese and Japanese and languages and nationalities, and everything is wonderful. We should celebrate diversity. Evolution creates diversity. At the time of Big Bang, what was there? Nothing. Gas. Then after billions of years, there may be some water. After billions of years, maybe some other fungi. Billions of years, maybe vegetation. It takes billions of years before humanity came. Animals came before us. And in that period of humanity, we all came from Africa. At that time, there were no Muslims, no Christians, no Buddhists, no Americans, no Chinese, no Ukrainians, no nuclear weapons, no wars. We all came from Africa. We are all children of Africa. At that time, there was no diversity. But then humanity grew and celebration of diversity came. And we created many languages, many religions, many philosophies, many economic systems, many political systems. We should celebrate diversity. That is society. So my Trinity, the two Trinities I have given you today, one is head, heart, and hands. Use three of them together. Don't ignore your head, but also don't ignore your heart. Cultivate the heart qualities, soul qualities. Heart is soul, similar. And then hands. Develop your skills to make something. You are a maker. You are a maker. You can build a house. You can create a garden. You can make furniture. You can make a pottery. You can make a painting. You can make a film. You can make something with your hand. Be a maker. That's a hand. So that's the first Trinity. And the second Trinity is soil. Look after soil. Without soil, there is no life. Life is not in money. Life is not in big buildings. Life is the soil. Honor the soil. And then soul. Heart and soul very close, similar. And then society. Build Philippi community as a society. And everybody pulling together, helping each other. Not just me, how can I? Me will make you poor. Make the Ubuntu as your Philippi community slogan. We are all one. And we'll work together to build Philippi community, a glorious community. We don't have to wait for corrupt government in Pretoria. They are all collecting money for themselves. So, don't wait for them to save you. You have power. And your power is unlimited. Your power is unlimited, but it's dormant. It's not being used enough. So use your power of being together, pulling together, building your community together, building houses, building gardens, building beautiful things by helping each other. So that's a society. So soil, soul, society. That's a, and you know Bertha Foundation and Be the Earth Foundation and Tony and Seth, they have embraced this idea of soil, soul, society. They love it. And so I would like Philippi community to become soil, soul, society, and head, heart, and hands. Thank you very much.